Good evening, good evening. Welcome to the Sunday night edition. G's one of one. We're gonna wait a few minutes and let some people get the notifications. And once they do, we're gonna jump right into it. We're gonna get started in just a minute. We're gonna give a few people a few minutes to get those notifications that we live, and then we're gonna jump right into it. So appreciate y'all for rocking with G's one of one tonight. Happy Father's Day to all the fathers. Checking my other screens and make sure that the live is going through for other people, that other people get notified. Let me see. There we go. Found it. Yeah, we good. We good. We good. We good. In there. So we'll just give it a couple of minutes to allow some people to join the chat to get the notifications. And then we're going to get right to it. So let's just give it about 2 minutes. Just give it 2 minutes. We're going to give it just about another minute, allow some people to get the notification, and then we're going to jump right into it. Happy Father's Day to all the fathers. Appreciate y'all for tuning in to G's one of one. All right, y'all. We're gonna give it about 30 seconds, and then we're gonna just get going. Appreciate y'all for tuning in and rocking with me tonight here at G's one of one. If you're new here, please hit that subscribe, like button, and the notification bell so you know when it is that we teach the algorithm that you like the videos, and then we want to make sure you get notified that we live and when we're on YouTube, so you don't miss anything. So smash that thumb and tap that bell. Smash that thumb and tap that bell. All right, y'all. So we're gonna get right on into it. It is now 9:20. You know, I do appreciate everybody for tuning in. Hopefully everybody enjoyed their Father's Day. I definitely enjoyed mine. I had a really good week. My wife had a decent week. And I had a really decent day. Because as you can see, I got my. This is not AI. This is a real thing here. We got the Happy Father's Day. You probably can't see the. I'll take this back. Yeah, see the Happy Father's Day going across the ceiling. Then we got the big balloons. So We got the big balloons, and we got some good gifts and cards and food, and had a really good day. So I definitely enjoyed my day, and hopefully your fathers, your significant others, brothers, uncles, cousins, enjoyed their Father's Day as well, because good guys deserve to be highlighted and honored because of their hard work and dedication to the family. So we titled this one tonight Happy Father's Day, to continue that effort, just shout out, the good guys that's, actually, holding it down, doing the thing, because oftentimes we hear a lot of negativity. And it's good to, really focus on the positive. So the negative guys and the negative people don't steal the positive light. So there's that. But I had a good week. Down 3 pounds from last week. I was at 216 today. um, I am at 23% body fat. I am sitting at, I want to say, 50 pounds of actual fat, and skeletal muscle is sitting right around 97. That is the muscle that is attached to the bone, right? When people say just general muscle mass instead of skeletal muscle mass, that includes the organs. So that's probably why you'll hear, larger numbers, right? Because my actual uh, lean mass is muscle mass is actually 53 pounds and about 70%. And my actual uh skeletal muscle, which is actually the muscle. Hey, happy Father's Day, Round Mel. Appreciate you stopping in. My actual skeletal muscle is I want to say 44% and 97 pounds. So that there are the differences. I like to say that I have seen some good stuff going around in the community with the ladies. I see a lot of the ladies getting the Renfos, right? So I think it's working. I've been actually preaching, I get on here every week and I've been preaching the same thing purposefully, because I think that it needs to be talked about and continue to be talked about, because for so long, we've been on a mission to just constantly lose weight, and that from being obese individuals, that we actually forget that at some point you want to make sure you start to gain muscle, right? And not just focus on total body fat. So I don't feel like, I'm a broken record, because I've seen at least 3 videos today, three with ladies popping out with brand new, the biometric Renfo, Morphoscan Nova, Morphoscan Nova scales, and actually getting into their actual diving into the actual numbers, and not just talking about, if they lost a pound or gained a pound. They actually diving into that actual muscle, you know what I mean, and their protein, and looking at their subcutaneous fat and their visceral fat, and body fat percentage, and all the things, you know what I mean. So I'm actually proud of that, because I feel like it's not falling on deaf ears. So even if people aren't here watching me, live, they actually get to actually, watch the replay, and they're listening. So I do appreciate that. Now, naturally, some are getting emails from Renfo, with asking them to try it out. But I mean, I'm speaking of the ladies I had personal conversations with back and forth, that were getting down on themselves about, not actually, losing weight, and the thing is, a lot of these ladies are, not all, because some have quite a way to go, quite a ways to go, but there are several who actually are, probably at a satisfactory total body weight, and just need to really focus on recon. You know what I mean? So I can appreciate them actually learning and diving into the numbers, and actually looking at more, and making sure that they actually getting the proper grams of protein, still utilizing carbs to have energy, because that's the other thing. You constantly hear throughout the community, people saying, I'm just so tired, I just don't have no energy. And and that's because they're massively under eating. They are under eating big time, and then wonder why they don't have any energy. And that's why, because they're under eating. um I actually seen one young lady I had spoke to. She also unveiled the Renfo today, and she said she got a bunch of energy, and I think that's because she actually saying, contrary to popular, talk, she has a bunch of energy. You know what I mean? Hey, Teddy, happy Father's Day to you as well. Appreciate that. Appreciate that. Thank you. But yes, she actually said that, contrary to, the popular talk that she actually experiences that she's actually experiencing for her first 3 days of a bunch of energy. So I appreciate hearing that, because so many times all we hear is the negative effects, right? We hear about how bad things are, you know what I mean, and people don't really focus on actually, like, what's really going on, positively, and it's good to hear that, it's not all, rain clouds and mudslides. You know what I mean? So that's the thing. So, but that's why I wanted people to actually dive into those numbers, because this will never really go away as long as you're in the lifestyle, of trying to I say chase longevity, right? Because at some point, you'll get satisfactory numbers, right? I can go to a physician right now, and I mean, you guys seen the because I post everything, so I get up here and I know I say a lot of things, so I make sure I post. I don't even keep myself accountable by posting my Renfo numbers, weekly, if not weekly, every couple weeks, so people can see what I'm doing, how I'm when I actually lose weight, I'm actually going after body fat, and not, and trying to protect my muscle, and simply doing that through gang of resistance training. I'm resistance training about 4 times a week now. I'm walking 4 or 5 days a week, probably 5 days a week. Yeah, I walk by 5 days, and I'm resistance training three, at minimum 3 days, sometimes 4 days now, so because it's super important, you know what I mean? You definitely want to, make sure that you putting in that work, so that way you don't lose that muscle, and a lot of times we talked about this forever in the community, but I also feel like at some point, we actually kind of went off the rails, you know what I mean? And then just focused on just total body weight, total body weight, total body weight. And that's not the smartest thing, you know what I mean? That's not the smartest thing, to just be focusing on total body weight. But a lot of people are guilty of it. Everybody's guilty of it. But just as long as we able to reel it back in and really dive in and look at, what's really going on, with that visceral fat, with that um with your actual subcutaneous fat, knowing the differences, you know what I mean? So that's the thing, you know what I mean? Because then that kind of changes your daily focus, and you're not just getting on complaining that you haven't lost, 2 pounds this week. You know what I mean? And again, I'm not speaking to everybody when I say that, because you do have some individuals that might still be, kind of like that super morbidly obese, 45% and above, clinically obese, or obesity class 2, 40 and above, and even those that's still just obese, you know what I mean? Those that's still obese, I can understand, you just pretty much want to lose weight no matter how it's coming off. But for those of us that actually have made it to the overweight category, we got to have a different conversation, you know what I mean? And again, this conversation isn't stale, because I continuously, week after week, see people, still saying some of these things. But the reason why I'm saying that this is working is because I've seen 3 different ladies today, actually. um well, when I say resistance training, I'm talking about lifting weights, because I've been resistance training the whole time, doing what they call supersets, right? But I've added weights, and I actually, what I've been doing is actually increasing my weight, right? I actually started at a certain weight, and now I'm at a new weight, you know what I mean? So as I get stronger, I increase the weight, you know what I mean? But I do supersets. So me, I do the same old drills, you know what I mean? Same old boring drills, you know what I mean? So obviously I'm being sarcastic. The drills are compound movements, right? So we're doing squats, and we're doing, uh we're doing I want to say curls, and then we do, side raises, we do overhead raises, we do curls with the weights, we do squats with the weights, then you got burpees, you got all kind of things. I don't do the burpees because of my actual toe. I can't put the weight on the toe. But so most of my actual works are standing, right? They're standing, unless I'm going to sit down on the bench. But other than that, as far as like down on the floor, no, I don't do those. But as far as lifting, I just lift and I do supersets of all different type of compound combo movements, in effort to ramp up burn, right? So I want to burn fat and then retain and build muscle. And so those things do that. And I usually follow a doctor by the name of Dr. Jade Tate. He was an obesity specialist, and I've had the tapes for years. And I actually, before GLP-1, used to use those tapes, and I could lose 25 to 30 pounds utilizing them when I before I actually had the gift of the treatment that we all use now. So now with the combination of the two, it's been a beautiful thing because I've noticed changes in my body that I've never seen before, you know. And one of the telltale signs that um you're actually doing the right thing is when your waist, right? When your pants are still, you know, let's say the scale don't move, but but your pants are still falling off you. That's the holy grail, right? Because now you got body recomp. So the scale's not moving because you're gaining muscle and you're losing fat, right? And I actually put my hip to waist ratio, which has actually shrunk a good deal, right? And you know what? This shirt that I have on right here, that I got on right now, it was when I actually purchased a gang of shirts at the beginning of the year, I couldn't fit this shirt. Now the shirt fits amazingly. So that's another sign. So your clothing should be fit. The shirt fit beautifully. You know what I mean? And it's because my body is changing. You know what I mean? The resistance training is working. You know, and I try to make sure that I'm not eating past like 8:30. That's like kind of like my cutoff. You know, so after that, you know, I don't do it. I don't do it. I don't do it. So that way, I'm actually doing like all of the things. You know, getting the sleep in. You know what I mean? I get my sleep in as best I can. I mean, sometimes I'm actually unable to actually sleep like I want to. Like I fall asleep early and then I'm up. You know what I mean? Like inadvertently, like I might fall asleep and then I'm actually up and then I have to take me an hour or two to get back to sleep. That does happen. You know, I just try to like stay off the phone so I don't get that blue light and I can actually get back to sleep. You know what I mean? So you know, that's the other thing. But yes, I am doing you know, kind of like those combo movements, you know what I mean? Which are called supersets, and that is what actually increases that fat burn, um and allow you to actually keep that muscle, you know. And my wife does it with me sometime, but she also likes to do her own thing too with some of her stuff. But like I said, she's doing, you know, amazing too, being down 25% or 49 pounds, I want to say. um so far, you know, because I mean, she's just about 15 pounds away from her actual goal. So, and then we've actually been floating, talking about, you know, some other things that we might do if we don't get, you know, aesthetically where we want to after we do the work. So, which is the right thing to do. Because I've always told everybody I'm gonna do probably like the lipo 360 if I'm not able to get, 100% what it is that I'm looking for out of all of my actual resistance training and you know, physical movement, you know. And that is pretty much like getting rid of like the additional subcutaneous fat in the flank area. My visceral fat is really good because the visceral fat is now down to I want to say an 8. I think I posted that. So, and we know, most people know that those that had a Renfo, it sort of kind of ranks from 1 to 20. It goes all the way up to 20, I believe. And mine's is at like an 8, which is in the green zone, you know, for a man of my stature, my size, you know. So my visceral fat is really good. All of my numbers are really, really good. So hey, Paul, happy Father's Day, brother. You know, I am, you know, like I said, I can take my numbers to anybody, but there are some subtle things, you know, like that I might not be satisfied with, that I'm gonna make sure that I go ahead and deal with, you know what I mean? And that probably would be, you know. And again, I actually have a, you know, just my own theory, that I feel like before anybody gets anything cosmetic, you should probably spend about, I don't want to say anybody, because some people won't take as long, but I'll say for any of our some of the larger folks that actually had to lose a good deal of weight, you know, like myself, you probably want to get in meds a couple of years and your lifestyle a couple of years before you go and get anything cosmetic, right? I think probably about 2 years. But then you got some smaller people that probably could spend about a year, right? So, you know, people like, let's say like my wife, like she wasn't that large, you know what I mean? So, you know, and again, with her already losing nearly 50 pounds, if she were to get something at 1 year, you know what I mean? I think it'll still be okay. It'll probably be okay. You know what I mean? It'll probably be okay for her, you know, getting something within at 1 year or a little past 1 year, you know what I mean? Because she'll actually be, you know, I mean, very small, you know, small enough. And just to make it make sense, you want to be at a healthy weight, you know what I mean? Not strict BMI, because BMI, we all know, is like being getting to that below 25, and that doesn't make sense for some of us that have been obese. So I'll say All right, RMZ. Fussing at me because she wants to watch House of Dragons. All right, cool, man. Later. Appreciate you stopping in. But yeah, you know what I mean? Like, so that's the thing. Like, you know what I mean? She wants to actually probably do some of some of those things too. But I know for myself, what I specifically, I just want to talk about I'll just talk about myself because I know I have permission to do that. I want to get um lipo 360. So that pretty much would take out some of that abdominal and the love handle subcutaneous fat that my actual working out probably won't resolve, and I won't lose enough weight in order for that to really go away to the degree that I'm talking about. You know what I mean? So something like that, which is like kind of like lipo laser 360, something like that, where I can be 100% satisfied because like most know, I'm not going to be trying to go any lower than, let's say, like 195. That's probably like the lowest weight I would actually want to get to. You know what I mean? Because I'm pretty good now, but I know I still want to go another 20 pounds to just be solidly, you know what I mean, into my comfort zone of not going anywhere near obesity. Because for me, obesity sits at 220 and above. And so if I'm at 195, that's quite a ways, you know what I'm saying? Or 200, like 200 is like a natural weight that I like to sit at as a 6 foot tall guy. I think 200 pounds is decent. So that'll give me a 20-pound at least leeway to play with. You know what I mean? Because we'll all fluctuate, probably around 5 to 10 pounds any old way. So if I get down to 200 and I'm going, 205, 210, 205, it's fine, even 195. So, and then if I was to get like some subcutaneous fat, removed, at that point, because none of this will probably happen until next year. It'll probably be in 2027 that I would get anything done because at that point I'd be on the meds for 2 years, and I pretty much know at that point for most people after about 2 years, you kind of know how far the med's gonna take you. You know what I mean? Along with all your lifestyle changes, you have a really good idea. You know what I mean? You have a really good idea. But I don't suggest people that's under a year, running around, getting the things that I'm talking about. The things I'm talking about is doing stuff after you did all of the things. You know what I mean? And then at that point, hey, still a few things I wanna kind of that I'm a little unsatisfied with that you could do. And that's the other conversation that a lot of men don't talk about. You got the guys that got the gynecomastia where they have like the chest area that kind of like looks like the breast, that they're kind of open. But us other guys who actually kind of got that spare tire don't really talk about, us having procedures, but we do. We do. Guys just don't talk about it, but they're there. And how the reason why I'm saying it is because, when you do the consults, you see all of the photos. You just don't see, the faces of the men, but the men's bodies are there. You know what I mean? So men are doing it too. They just don't talk about it. But if I want to be, pool ready next summer, I definitely want to get a little something done because I would have deserved it. And it's self-care, you know what I mean? Like, because again, we're talking about subcutaneous. Visceral is a bit different. That's something you got to put the work in, you know what I mean, to really get out of there. And that's, the proper sleep, protein, working out, walking, all of that. And I'm doing all of that stuff. So I would at that point earned, the right to actually go and get something that, I feel like would just make me look 100% the way that I want to, because I have no desire to be big, bulky, none of that. You know what I mean? So I've been big forever. So I ain't looking to be big. I don't want to be really small either, definitely don't. I still want to be powerful and, have that um, the proper, strong physique. But, I'm not looking to be big is what I'm saying. So, that's not my goal. You know what I mean? I have a muscular build as it is because I also put those the Google suggestion that they suggested for me to not go too low. You know what I mean? To they said 190 was my sweet spot. So, even at 200, I could see something. Because again, like I said my body fat is 23. In a perfect world, my body fat would probably end at around like probably, I mean, not end, but I would get to probably I seen a mosquito. Probably I don't get a mosquito bite. I haven't seen a mosquito or a gnat. But basically I don't want to get to a point where it's like not comfortable, you know what I mean, where I'm just too thin, you know what I mean, and some of us can go there, when we keep pushing total body weight to a certain degree. You know what I mean? I still would like to, be aesthetically pleasing, to myself. I don't want to be, you know, too thin, looking a little frail. You know what I mean? So there's that. But yeah, overall good week. I do want to jump into some of the future GOP agonists. I did say I was going to talk about that a little bit. So here we go. Appreciate y'all for joining me tonight. For all of those that came in a little late, please smash that thumb and tap that bell so that way we teach the algorithm that these are the videos that you would actually like to see, and that you also get notified when we go live here on G's One of One every Sunday around 8:30, sometimes 9 o'clock. All right. GLP-1 agonists have been pivotal in the pharmaceutical market for nearly 2 decades, beginning with the FDA approval of AstraZeneca Beta in 2005. Since then, the landscape has seen numerous entries and exits, leaving Novo Nordisk and Eli Lilly as the primary players. These companies currently offer 5 GLP-1 drugs approved for type 2 diabetes, with 4 also approved for various cardiovascular conditions. The potential of GLP-1 agonists and weight loss has been a topic of ongoing discussion by FDA approval for obesity has only been granted in the past decade. So the first GLP-1 approved was obviously Saxenda liraglutide, which was from Novo Nordisk. And I do feel this is necessary to talk about. Hey Jen, how you doing? Necessary to touch, because without history there's no future, right? So sometimes it's important to like drive backwards and then move forward. So we'll get into the new ones, but I just wanted to start with the old ones first, kind of like bring things full circle. You know what I mean? Just to like dive in, because I know we had some of the lives we had lately have just been kind of like kicking it and busting it up and talking about just overall weight and the differences and things of that nature. But I feel I'll dive into some of the drugs tonight, and then we'll see where the conversation goes in the chat and call it a night. So where was I? So I was talking about the first GLP-1 drug approved for obesity was Saxenda or liraglutide from Novo Nordisk, a twice daily injectable that demonstrated a 7% weight reduction over a year upon its approval. Saxenda approval set a precedence in the efficacy and pricing, with a cost of over $1,000 per month. The market remained relatively static until 2021, when Novo Nordisk semaglutide, which is Ozempic for diabetics, and Wegovy for obesity, was approved, showing nearly 10% weight loss over 2 years. Wegovy's weekly injection and similar pricing to Saxenda led to an overwhelming market response, causing supply issues in 2023. Eli Lilly entered the market with zepbound, tirzepatide, boasting over 20% weight loss at 72 weeks and a slightly lower price. Whoa. So that's actually what happened, right? So I got a little chart here. Saxenda was born in 2015, and it was a twice daily injection, netting 7% weight loss over 56 weeks. And then you had $1,000 price point per month. Their first year sales was $230 million. Then let's fast forward to 2021. We actually ended up with Wegovy, which was a once weekly injection, which boasted a 10% weight loss and at 104 weeks, and $1,350 was the price per month, and 900 million was pretty much their first year sales. Then we have 2023, Zepbound entered the scene, and with a once weekly injection, boasting 21% of weight loss in 72 weeks. And let me just go back and say, now, obviously, the caveat you probably caught there was Wegovy actually, uh, the efficacy for that was closer to 15%, honestly. But they actually put that because that was a trial for, I believe, diabetics, right? And diabetics were known to get less or see less weight loss, right? So diabetics were the first people using this. So that's why you see those lower percentages early on, right? So let's go back. So Eli Lilly hit the scene, and then dropped Zepbound, and then we saw 21%, right, over 72 weeks. So we saw a greater weight loss in a shorter period, and it jumped out on the scene at $1,100 a month, right? And then they actually did I want to say it says 2,000 million. So in my mind, right, because it was 900 million for the Wegovy. So that one was probably closer to uh 2 billion, I want to say. Probably 2 billion. Yeah, I'm willing to say probably 2 billion. That's why it says 2,000 million. And it makes sense. It makes sense. Emerging trends and market dynamics. The GLP-1 market is poised for significant growth with Novo Nordisk and Eli Lilly set to launch new injectable and oral formulations. Uh, our review of clinical trial peptides reveals 39 new GLP-1 drugs in development from 34 companies, with only 7 among the top 20 pharmaceutical companies. Many of these emerging players are based in China, indicating a potential shift in market dynamics unless major licensing or acquisition deals occur. So formulations and future projections, right? This is what everybody likes to talk about now. Several companies are developing oral GLP-1 formulations, including Novo Nordisk, Pfizer, and smaller firms, positioning them as potential acquisition targets. We forecast 1 to 2 GLP-1 launches annually starting in 2026. So with Novo Nordisk advancing multiple candidates, we anticipate around 7 actual launches in the US by 2030 after risk adjustment. So this is following the trial. Hey, what up, Grant? Happy Father's Day, man. So I'll run through some of those now, just so you guys know exactly what those names are, to the best of my ability. Um, so we got cagrilsima. So the cagrilsima and the semaglutide, um, I'm sorry, cagrilintide and semaglutide, that kind of like connection is probably the first one up, and that's gonna pretty much be out like I want to say anytime now. You know, it can pretty much drop at any given time. Let me go back to the date of this. So this article was created in December. So from what I know, the actual timing on that has been pushed to probably like I want to say more like probably more like October, but it could be this summer. You could see it this summer. So that's cagrilintide with semaglutide. That's a combination therapy that's pretty much rivaling zepbound. So they're also getting 20% out of that, or almost 21% out of that combination. Now what you might what one might say with that is good, because that actually creates competition that could see some users go over to them, thus dropping the price of zepbound, right? Because that's the positive out of this, is to get individuals dropping that their prices. So let me just say shout out to my wife and kids, because they actually, this is not AI. What you see behind me are real balloons, and that's a real backdrop. People still do that. People still do that. They still do real backdrops and real balloons. And this is not AI. I am not AI. I am for real. I am for real in the flesh. Appreciate that, Grant. Appreciate that. Yeah, we do authentic things over here. So orforglipine, right? That is also available already. They actually thought it wouldn't be, but it actually dropped, a lot sooner. The Novo Nordisk NNC 0165 1875 with semaglutide is set to drop March 13th of 2022. The survodutide is set to be approved. I want to say approved. I shouldn't say drop, but it's set to be approved in October. Survodutide, in my mind, that's the one they've been mixing with glucagon, I believe, and it's doing really, really good with liver fat. Um, just like the retatrutide. So but it's not showing as much weight loss. What they're seeing from that is something like 16%. So looking at that, it's probably not going to be one of those ones that people knock down the door to get. But it's really good to have another treatment for those that are dealing with liver issues, and liver fat, to be exact. And then we got Pfizer with the nucleoprime, set for approval in December. We got the what's that? Pemvidutide. That is set to drop on January 2028. Uh, and then we got Pfizer actually doing a dual trial of the danuglipron with the PF 068655 7-1. So these are some are so new that they don't have a name. So when you hear me say these long numbers, they don't necessarily have a name for it yet. That's another combination therapy set to drop at the end of January 2028. We have Viking. So a lot of people are pretty much uh familiar with that VK 2735. That's one that will also probably be dropping in 2028, right? So some of these are more than a year out. The ones that I'm going to read now, some are 2 years and even 3 years out. The Bima Group Grumab, that's the one who we all talked about. Actually was like that. Actually helped to actually spare muscle, right? So that's going to be a big one. And that is also due 2028. We got some new pharmacies in here. Rigor Pharma. Rigor Pharmacy is looking to produce this RGT001075. That's one that will be due out in September of 2028. We talk about 2028. So not next year, the year after. The AMG 133, due in 2029. I'm going over 2029 now. That's from Amgen. That's from Amgen. Then you got the Carmot with the CT 868. Another one due in 2029. Novo Nordisk has an NNC 05190130, which is due in March of 2029. We got several Eli Lilly's that are projected for approval in 2029 and 2030. The Mazdutide, the tirzepatide combination with the naso terracetyde, that is also due in October 2029. And finally, to tirzepatide with the REGN 4461, which would be due in 2030. So some of these are, for very specific issues, So I do see Eli going into they're actually going into a space where they're actually getting things approved for very specific conditions, right? Because that actually allows people, when you approve it, when they get things approved for specific conditions, it helps with the insurance, right? So it's helping to possibly get people approved for other reasons. So that's actually, a plus, right? But these are some of the things that are on the horizon. Just wanted to go over a few of the drugs that will be coming out in between 2026 and 20 well, next year. I want to say the very, very end of this year and then going through 2030, right? So significant upcoming catalyst events include the readout for, well, this has already happened actually, which was for glipron, which indicate the efficacy of oral GLP-1s, which that's Pfizer's glipron and other GLP-1s by 2028. An effective oral GLP-1 could challenge the current injectable market leaders and avoid supply chain issues. Additionally, companies are focusing on differentiating weight loss results in terms of muscle versus fat loss, which those showing minimal muscle loss likely to outperform. So that's what I was saying, that a lot of them are looking for those that actually kind of ignore the muscle, right? Because you got some that actually kind of jump on receptors and actually avoid the muscle. So we are seeing that too. And I think uh it's a possibility that retatrutide is the first one that would actually work and avoid, actually avoid muscle. You know what I mean? So if it's avoiding muscle, that'd be amazing, because the whole muscle, no, the muscle loss conversation will never end, but at least it would temper it. So outlook, the obesity and weight loss treatment landscape will undergo substantial transformation in the coming years. Long-acting injectables may become initial treatments, followed by oral maintenance therapies. The shift could drive the obesity market to exceed 100 billion annually. So, reducing overall healthcare costs by addressing comorbidities associated with obesity. Despite limited big pharma involvement, venture funding is propelling new companies, potentially reshaping the industry landscape. What else? So basically, I personally feel like it's already taking effect. The Happy Father's Day. Who was that just chimed in? That was, oh, those are Shawnee. Hey, Shawnee, how you doing? Happy Father. Thank you for the Happy Father's Day. I appreciate that. But yes, I would say that what I'm noticing is a great deal of prescriptions are being reduced because a lot of people that are getting on GLP-1s are having the ability now to actually reduce their medications, right? So it does have an effect, you know what I mean? Because it slows down, some of the actual cocktails, because in pharmacy we call, you know, trifectas, like kind of like cocktail. So basically what that is, I should say trifecta. I won't say cocktail, but I'll say trifectas. The trifecta is, those people that were on a um uh what was that, a statin, a hypertension medication, and a diabetic pen or drug, right? Because you got somebody with high cholesterol, diabetes, and hypertension, and pretty much have a client or patient for life, once you got that. So they call it a trifecta, so that's good pharmacy business, right? But the thing is, now what we're seeing with the emergence of GLP-1s, there's a shift, right? There's been a shift, and people are actually lessening medications, right? So with them lessening medications, that drives down the actual script count, right? So years ago, pharmacies used to be paid, primarily by volume. The more scripts, the more money. You know what I mean? Now it's really based on outcomes, right? Because the outcomes are what makes pharmacy profitable, based on how well people do, and they're able to negotiate better deals, right? You know what I mean? So that's kind of like where the pharmacy business has gone, in recent years. And immunizations. Immunizations is the other side of the business, and what they call MTMs, or medication therapy maintenance management, right? So that's where you can have like a new therapy call, and you got CMRs and TMRs. You got TART, which is either a comprehensive medical review or targeted medical review, CMR and TMR. So that's where the other side of the actual profitability comes from in a pharmacy. And now with Medicare, potentially, or as of July 1st, Medicare will also give, or be allowing qualified patients to be able to access GLP-1s for $50. So and that's going to be, your Fondeo, your Wegovy. Hey Sydney, how you doing? Appreciate that, thank you. um that's going to be your Foundeo, your Wegovy pill, uh your actual Wegovy injection, and your zepbound, right? Because it is limited to those, because it's strictly for those that are obese and need to lose weight. It's not going to be for those that have other conditions, unfortunately. Like, because if so, they would be approved under other anyway. And what I mean by that is those that may have kidney issues. Because some of those that are not 65, that are utilizing or on Medicare, are more than likely those that have, kidney issues and things of that nature, right? So I think it's very interesting. I think that, these it's a wonderful time to be alive. Like I tell people all the time, because at the end of the day, um, this is a time where we have medications to, pretty much, extend your life, if you actually are able, or if you actually are willing to do some of the work, you know what I mean? And that's eating appropriately, doing, lifestyle changes through resistance training, and weightlifting, and then getting proper sleep, just getting proper sleep and managing stress and stuff like that, you know what I mean? So but yeah, so appreciate everybody that joined me here tonight. I actually hopped in to, make sure that I could, break down, talk about my week a little bit, which I did. Break down the market overview for some of the uh the the GLP-1 agonists that are on the way, from between now and over the next 4 and 5 years. Because if you guys can just think 4 years ago, what was that, 2021? And just think about now how far we've come. So 4 years from now, by the time we get to 2030, just imagine where we're gonna be. You know what I mean? That's a whole new world, So and then, I did cover quite a few of the things that I have been seeing in the community, with all of the ladies that I saw putting up videos with their Renfo scales, which I'm happy about, because that means that I'm not a broken record. I'm not just getting up here, talking, just to hear myself speak. People are listening. They are paying attention to their numbers, and they actually are looking at their actual overall health and not total body weight, not just total body weight week after week. How much did I go up? How much did I go down? And they actually looking at, how much muscle did I retain? How much fat did I lose? How much of it is visceral? How much of it is subcutaneous? What's my hip to waist ratio? How much water am I getting enough? How much protein? All of those things matter because that's your overall health. And it's not just going up and down, because what's happening a lot of times is people do see the scale going down, but it's actually not good. It's actually not good. People getting on and be like, oh, I lost 3 pounds. Yay. But unfortunately, you just lost 3 pounds of of what could be, muscle mass. You know what I mean? Skeletal muscle. Things that you don't want to lose. You know what I mean? Now, it probably wasn't within 1 week, but I'm saying it's not the weight that you want to lose. Your body's not recomping appropriately. You're just literally getting on. You're just losing weight. Hey, it actually will be, Grant, because you've been training for a few months now. So unless you have issue with accountability, you still should be fine, because all you got to do is run through the same drills that are in your head from the trainer. So when I had a trainer for 6 months, and that was it. I never saw him again. Why? Because after that point, it felt a little bit pointless, because I knew all of the drills. I knew every one of his drills. It was all in my head, and I just did them. So you really don't need a trainer after about 6 months. After about sometimes 3 to 6 months, that's it. Because you know all of the drills they're gonna give you at that point. You can just keep doing them on your own. So the thing that you might be talking about is accountability. You know what I mean? Because you got to see them. I'm kind of like, I don't want to say self-motivated, because that would be not completely honest. You know what I'm saying? I'm motivated by other things. I'll say that. You know what I mean? Like things that have happened, things that have occurred with me and my health and my kids, and that's what kind of keeps me rolling. So I don't really, trainer or no trainer, I'm good to go. You know what I mean? It's accountability. Yeah, I get what you're saying, but you know, at the end of the day, just send yourself your own reminders. You know what I mean? Go on your phone, set reminders. Because we all got the smartphones, for yourself. The same days you would have been training with the trainer, set that goal for yourself, and you still do it. You know what I mean? You still do it. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, if you're strong willed, I know that you're gonna be fine. You're gonna be fine. But yes, but yeah, I had really good weeks. I love seeing like all of the ladies, even the one, like I get a lot of credit. People say G's 101 a lot of times, in their videos. So I do appreciate that. I appreciate seeing it. But even the ones that I don't, it'd be kind of funny, because me and my wife were sitting watching. I was like, now I was just talking to this lady, and now look, a week later, she done went and got a rental scale, and she on here getting the numbers, and she done sat there and learned, what the what the scale, what the range is for the different metrics, and now our whole conversation different. I love to see it though, because that means that what I'm doing matters. You know what I mean? So that's why I make it my business to get down here in my basement on every Sunday night to actually have these conversations, because it helps people. You know what I mean? It really does help people, and it changes their entire lives, because now you're not setting up talking about, oh, I just gotta lose some weight. I gotta lose some weight. When in fact, you probably at a satisfactory weight, but you need to actually pack on some muscle, because what's going to happen is you're going to lose so much weight. Probably program through the Diabetes Association. Nice, nice. That's good, man. That's good, Grant. But yeah, even though I still would say, if it's not a Renfo, Morpho, Scan Nova, I don't know. Because that's that's the one I trust. You know what I mean? I really trust that scale, because I feel like it's really, really good. So um that's the one I'd be aiming to get. And from what I'm seeing, people just getting emails and they sending them out. They ain't sent me none. I had to buy mine. You know what I mean? So, but people getting emails, a whole bunch of people getting emails with them saying, hey, try this scale, try this scale. So I don't know if people are seeing like an advertisement and just signing up for it, or they actually getting emails. But either way, I'm here for it. I love to see it. So that way everybody know their numbers, because I really feel like if we know our numbers, it's going to change the conversation. It's going to change our content. It's going to change what we're talking about, right? And we could just share things on how to actually, keep our muscle that we have, and stop talking about, oh well, I just didn't lose weight this week, because in actuality, losing weight might be a bad thing this week. You losing more weight might be a bad thing if it's not fat. If you losing weight and it's not fat, what you doing, right? Because you should be losing fat. You should be losing fat. If you're not losing fat, then you gotta like fix your plan, and don't want to get on and just keep on, clapping up, the most weight, oh, I lost a lot of weight. But at the end of the day, are you losing the weight you should lose to be healthy? Or are you just losing weight? You know what I mean? Like, and that's not good, because sometimes you needed to retain that weight, and you actually should have gained some weight, I mean, think about it. The first time I got on, and I actually put my numbers in the post when I actually gained those 2 pounds, and look how much muscle it was, though. You know what I mean? Like, it was a good thing, because my body was recomping. And that was the whole thing. We need our bodies to start recomping. We don't want to go on and be looking like saggy biscuits. You know what I mean? You be losing all that muscle, and then you just got all this skin. You know what I mean? That's not good. That's not good. So we gotta have hard conversations, and we gotta be honest. And again, this conversation isn't for everyone, because you got some people that are still way up there in the numbers, right? I had my Dexter last week. I share my results. Good, good. Definitely share those results, Shawnee. But it's good to have it, because it tells you where you are, what your plan is, and that way you don't have to focus on. You shouldn't just focus on total body weight, and you can start focusing on losing that fat and building that muscle. Now, the reason why I keep saying this over and over again, because I keep hearing the conversations of people being sad because they didn't lose weight and saying they stuck. Oh, I'm stuck in this stall. I've been in a stall for probably going on a month now, and I haven't lost weight. But if they had the actual right scale, they would know, even though I didn't lose weight, I've lost 3% of my body fat, which is amazing. But because you don't have a scale, you don't know what you're talking about. You keep going to myself, I'm in a stall. You ain't in no stall. You just lost 3% of your body fat, but you don't know, because you still using the same old scale. You know, and I'm not trying to get in people finances, but what I'm saying is the scale is $200, right? So, and all I mean, I'm gonna say 90% of these people we talking about drink those coffees that's costing you $10. So maybe we could actually not drink coffee for a month. Put the coffee away for a month and get us a proper scale that can tell us what's really going on, and I can stop going off the wrong numbers. Because people, I'm gonna stick to my $20 scale. Yeah, but at the end of the day, and that $20 scale is causing your whole plan to be flawed. And every day you getting up, going out, and you working predicated on a falsehood, right? You know, that's the thing. And that's the thing. Like, so yeah, and the DEXA is good. And this is my thing about DEXA, everybody. I'm cool with the DEXA, but the reason why I say I would still rather spend the money on getting the Renfro scale, the new one, because you're gonna be within 98% of that DEXA all the time, right at your fingertips. Now, DEXA is going to be more accurate, of course, right? Because it's a DEXA. But these scales have already been proven, set up, lined up with DEXA from countless individuals, that they are, even if it ain't, let's say 98%, is damn close. So you really don't necessarily got to go out and get a DEXA before you get the scale, because some DEXAs might run you $300 or more, whereas you can get a scale for less than $200. Get this scale for less than $200, and you'll know your numbers every day, all day, anytime. Okay, that's all I'm trying to preach to people, because we can't keep, like, we getting on YouTube and our story is we in a stall, or we this and that, and you're not. You don't even know what you're talking about. You're not in a stall. You actually are building muscle, losing body fat, and saying, well, my weight not going down. It shouldn't be if you're gaining muscle. It shouldn't be. But we have this thing in our head because we started out being obese and morbidly and clinically obese. And everything to this point has been lose the weight, get it down, get it down, get it down, get it down, get it down. But by the time you get triple digits, let's say 100 pounds down, under a 30 BMI, and you're actually in the overweight category, you're just in the overweight category. You're just in the overweight category. At that point, your mind has to kind of switch to looking at other things, because now what you're going at is longevity and actual health. And what that looks like, what longevity and what the longevity and the actual like long-term health looks like, that is more you learning to actually retain the muscle, because if you get this muscle that I keep on talking about, it's going to keep that fat away. It's going to allow you to actually burn more fat then you actually losing all of your muscle and being, like I said, soggy biscuits. You know what I mean? And then you got all that skin. And that's the thing, like, because that's what ends up happening if you actually just keep worrying about total body weight. And I'm gonna say this one more time because people always they listen to the sound bite. Now, I said a few things. I said soggy biscuits. I said certain things that people pick up on and they don't hear, the whole thing, and they take what I didn't say. What I said was, I'm not talking to every single individual. Because if you are super morbidly obese, still clinically obese, meaning your BMI is 40, 45, and all that, then yes, you might be one of those people that just want to lose, more weight. But if you are somebody that's now in an overweight category, your BMI is less than 30, you don't need to just be talking about total body weight. That just don't make sense. It don't. Now you could probably lose some, but you need to make sure that you're losing body fat because at this point you don't have but so much more weight to lose. And if you lose the weight and the muscle and then end up with just the fat, you're in trouble. Because if you're just dealing with fat, the subcutaneous fat and the skin and not much muscle, guess what? You're gonna gain a whole lot of weight and you're gonna gain it quickly because you don't have any muscle, working for you. So you need to gain that muscle and maintain. And then for some people like me, I had quite a bit of muscle. So my whole thing is maintaining my muscle. If I grow muscle in the process, great. Because that's good, right? I still like to grow muscle if I'm, in the process, but I don't need to. What I need to do is maintain the muscle I have and lose more body fat because I have about 50 pounds of body fat, right? So if I can cut that in half, I'm good. And that's my whole thing. Can I cut that in half without losing, muscle? So, and we all know the math problem for me is that I don't want to lose more than, let's say, another 20 to 20 pounds max. 25 is what um Renfo says, 190 is my sweet spot, So if I get there, I get there. Can't really control that completely. But I'm 216 right now. So if I were to get the 190, so be it. But that'd be 25%. I'm saying that would cut me in half. And if I'm at 23 percent body fat, then that means that if I cut it in half, I'm probably sitting around 12. Now, I don't think it's gonna go exactly like that because that's called perfection, right? And nothing is perfection. You know what I mean? But I think I could definitely do half of what I'm talking about, right? So if I can actually get, let's say down another 15 pounds, let's just say, right? To up to 20 pounds to 200, between 195 and 200, and I can cut that fat, let's say down to maybe like 20, let's say 30 pounds, right? 30 pounds. I probably can sit somewhere around like 16, 15, 16% and be gold. You know what I mean? I'm talking about body fat. So that's the thing, like, you know what I mean? And not worry about it. Because the other side of the 10% that some people try to say for men, 'cause I'm talking about men, I'm only talking about women right now. Because women, if you get to like 25, y'all get 20%, y'all great. You know what I mean? Y'all don't need to go this low. But it's well, excuse me, 30. If you get to 30%, good. If you get to 25, amazing, right? Um, but for guys, like 20% is good, 15% is great, 10% is like out of this world. But the thing with I'm not attracted to the 10% is because it will take a lot of your life focusing on just staying at that 10%. That's a lot of work to stay at 10% body fat. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, and I'm not willing to do that because I actually want to actually lose weight, increase my longevity, and enjoy my life and not be just like constantly, thinking about, not eating or eating, you know what I mean? And trying to focus on what percent am I? What percent am I? I don't want to do that. So, and I feel like when you get to those, let's say sub 10% and all that, that's what happens. I don't want to do that. So again, I'm 23% right now. If I could get it to 15 somehow, some way, great. If not, and I end up at 20%, I'm still satisfied. If I end up at 20%, I'm still satisfied. And I lose just another 10 pounds, let's just say, or something. I'm satisfied. I'm done. I don't, it doesn't matter to me. Because like I said, I'm also going to get for aesthetics anyway, once I get to that weight, which is close, in the next 5 or 6 months, I will actually go and get like a little bit of, of the lipo to actually get rid of those flanks and that actual subcutaneous fat because my visceral fat is really low, technically. You know what I mean? So I'm overall very healthy. You know, I could go today and really get, you know, some like lipo and be really good, you know. But I'm me, and I want to actually be 100. So, and what I mean by that is I want to take the next 5 or 6 months and continue to actually lose body fat. So when I actually do go, it's actually, you know, super appropriate. I'm appropriate now because my BMI is below 30, right? You know what I'm saying? And I'm actually at a satisfactory weight to get, you know, things done. So there's that. You know, but those are the things, you know. That's what I wanted to come here tonight, you know, and holler at y'all and let y'all know, you know, what it is that I have been seeing, what I've been thinking, and you know, wish everybody happy Father's Day. Shout out to my wife and my kid, because my kids, they actually, you know, they actually came down and decorated. You know, I got the big balloons, and you know, I got the Happy Father's Day. You probably can't see it, but if you look up just a little bit, I got like the strings up here with the Happy Father's Day. It's in black, so it's kind of hard to see. Um, and then I got you know, some colognes, gift cards and things of that nature. And my kids read. I did it short, so go check it out. So you guys can actually see me sitting down here getting it. So yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. So and then I ran through, like I said, my week, I'm at 216. You know, my wife is still doing really well. You know, she's down almost 50 pounds. So, you know, we just, you know, doing our thing, man, taking our shot and living. So I went over some of the peptides that's coming out, the GLP-1 agonist that's coming our way in the next 4 to 5 years, over the next 4 to 5 years. So, you know, make sure y'all go and you know, check that, do the replay. So if you just came in late, please, you know, after this, just go back to the beginning and watch the full video. You know, I definitely would appreciate it. As I still, you know, attempt to grow this channel. My subscribers is creeping up slowly but surely. You know what I mean? Me and my wife been sharing it on our regular social media. We actually have you know, quite a bit business owners in our networking chat. You know, absolutely all the time, traveling team. Appreciate you. Um, but we do have quite a bit of business owners and stuff in our networking chat. You know what I mean? So we actually been sharing that, you know what I mean, and it's been growing, you know. So that's my whole thing, you know. I'll probably share a little more on TikTok, because I really haven't really got into the TikTok thing, but I'll probably share a little bit more over on that site, you know, as well. So there's that. So I'm not gonna hold y'all too much longer, but like I said, I just wanted to, you know, jump in here and, you know, wish everybody, you know, a happy Father's Day, go over some stuff, keep showing up, and you know, just hang out with y'all for a little bit. So, like I said, shout out to everybody. Happy Father's Day. Thank you to my wife and my kids for decorating. This is not AI. This is not AI. These are real balloons, and this is a real backdrop. People still do that. People still do this. We are not all artificial intelligence. We are not, you know, we're authentic over here. I'm a real person. This is not AI. You know, this is not AI. This is not AI. All right, y'all. Well, like I always like to end all of my videos, my obesity warriors, stand up. We're in this together. Later. Good night, y'all. Appreciate y'all for hopping in and here hollering at G's one of one.